Hey guys, this is H-Town Kick 713 coming with kind of a recap and thoughts on Kevin Durant's signing back with Nike for a second term in his career. And very interesting, as I was kind of reading online, looking at some of the business aspects, the economics of it. What I found out is everything we think of is in our impression of what the shoe sales are for basketball sneakers. So I found some very interesting information I just wanted to share today. So the question is KD's contract worth it? So if we look back at his previous contract, his rookie contract, back then, everybody wants the big mega shoe contract, and he got one. He got a great one, 7 years at $60 million. He was just 1 year out of the University of Texas to get such a large guaranteed amount, which is amazing for a player to get. But you look at the numbers there, that's averaging, just to round it up, to about $8.6 million per year, not including any bonus or incentives that I'm aware of or I could find. And there are some reports he actually made more than that 8.6, maybe 10 to even 14 million. But to be on the conservative side, we'll say he made 8.6 million just based on the 7 for 60 million. And this is kind of important. You look back because I think John Wall was one of the last ones, but there's no other rookies nowadays that get big shoe contracts. And what I've read, there's no rookies that will, in the foreseeable future, ever get a big rookie contract. And we'll see here why that is when we look at the numbers. So you look at KD's sales over the past 3 years. In that 2011 season, he did about 15 million. 2012, 35 million. That's nice. He did kind of a little above double. Then, of course, 2013 had his breakout year, going close to over 400%, bringing it up to close to 175 million in sales. But you look back to those previous years, that 2012, 35 million, and 2011, 15 million, and you got to think, what were those 4 years prior to 2011? Probably weren't more than 15 million. Which of those sales numbers are pretty abysmal when you kind of look at it. They're very low numbers when you're looking at a guy you're averaging paying at least 8.6 million of that contract. And there's CEOs that get paid less that do tremendous amount of more sales than just 15 to 35 million in a year. But he had his breakout year in 2013, bringing it to 175 million. And some say, as I was reading, that Vinci kind of broke Kevin Durant break even in terms of his contract, somewhere in that close to this range. And you got to average that 175 over the last 6 years to kind of even out the total sales over his contract. And you compare it over to LeBron in 2013, he did about 300 million. And LeBron from the previous year too, before that, did about around that $300 million mark. So he kind of, what they say, they kind of flatten out, which you don't want a player to flatten out in sales. Always want to see a little improvement. So that's some concern there with the LeBron line. But of course, the king of all kings is Jordan. 2013, I was saying he could have been around 2.25 to 2.5 billion in sales. So when you look at Kevin Durant, even at the 2013 explosive growth, 175 million compared to a billion, it's very small percentage. Very, it's like chump change almost. So the conclusion, which I've kind of read and what people have said is that Nike has not been making money or had influence with the KD over the previous years, and that's kind of surprising. Always hear kind of people complain about maybe the prices going higher and all that, but you look prior to the 2013 season, those sales numbers were pretty low, and when you're paying the guy close to over 8 million, not much profit off that, or if any, I think they're actually losing money. And analysts, I was reading that even on the LeBron James deal, it took him almost close to a decade to kind of recoup it. As his models, and he won more championships, and his models got better. After LeBron 6, started to sell a lot more. But when you look at though KD sales, I'm a big fan of the KD from the 5 to the 7s now. But when you look at the KD sales, it's still a very small percentage of the basketball market. Even for Nike, it's only 5% as of today. So that's a concern as well. So I guess the summation that when you come out is these big contracts do not seem to pay off. And with no more other kind of players really getting big contracts, that would seem to be the case. So that's kind of very interesting. But you look at the UA offer that Under Armour gave him. Interesting when we look at the stocks. It was rumored to be around that 265 to 285 million. Maybe some stocks, maybe I heard 10%, whatever that would have meant. And Nike had the option to match. So if they did, I guess Kevin Durant legally would have had to go back to Nike. He actually wouldn't have been his chosen. And Nike also retained ownership of the KD naming had he left, so that would have been a little awkward not to be able to use it. I think he was even trying to trademark or name brand his Easy Money Sniper nickname he uses. But you look at the UA stock, which is up. You look at that graph to the right. Had Kevin Durant been given stocks, you got to look at Nike on the left side of the chart. It's only up 1%, a little over 1% for the year to date from January. You look at Under Armour at 63%. So that's a huge difference just looking at the graph. And if you look at the far right graph, the 1 year, 52-week range, Nike's up 23%, which is good. I mean, that's anything good for any stock to be at that is good. But you look at Under Armour, it's in that high growth stage at 91. They're still trying to print certain markets, so there's definitely room for those guys to grow. And I don't have any positions in Under Armour or Nike stock, just kind of stating some facts here, one way or the other. So you never know what would that have been over the long haul for Kevin Durant. Had he been given stocks in the Under Armour, could have definitely exploited a lot more than what his base salary would have been. And the basic conclusion you come up with this is, the KD deal, where Under Armour is right now, I think they're like a $3-4 billion company. Would have taken a huge budget from the Under Armour, so definitely would have affected him that way. But maybe would have given Under Armour some credibility in the basketball sneaker world as they're trying to grow that market. But also, I was listening to the CEO today. Also, basically for them to penetrate different markets. When you give this huge contract out offer, maybe some other businesses and different industries will look at it and say, hey, Under Armour's a player now. They can offer these big deals. So there's definitely that kind of feeling to it, that they're not just a small-time player anymore. And also you got to think Under Armour, maybe they're looking for the next MJ to kind of bridge that gap in terms of trying to have a big hit with sales. But you look at the Nike offer real quick, it's roughly estimated to be $300 million over 10 years. The big $50 million is in retirement package. So if you look at that initial 10 years, around $30 million per year, give or take, which is huge. I mean, I think it's even more than what he's going to make with the Oklahoma City Thunder, based on the salary cap and stuff. So that's a huge offer. More props to him for being able to get that offer. But when you do the conclusions, I look at some of the numbers that Jordan makes. $90 million Jordan made in 2013, and he was doing over $2 billion in sales. And if you kind of apply what KD's new contract to the last year's, of course, those numbers won't work out because, but if you were to do it, $30 million he's getting paid for, last year's year of $175 million. And he's probably going to do, a lot more in the 2014 year, but just on those numbers, he's a 4x factor over Jordan in terms of numbers. You almost got to think that Jordan's underpaid now, only at $90 million. And then I was reading here, the margin deals around 87 sell for about $150, and Nike's take is around $83 off of that. And main conclusion for KD to kind of economically justify this contract to break through, at the end of the day, he's got to sell a bunch of sneakers. I don't know if that's tripling, quadrupling his sales, but definitely got to be a huge number for him to make up. So at the end of the day, you got to ask one, is it worth it? That's the big question. The big surprise, when you look at those previous years for KD, it wasn't really a money maker for him, for Nike that is. But when you look at the economics of it, no, you would say no. The deal for Nike really doesn't pan out from an economics financial standpoint. But you gotta maybe think what Nike's trying to do here with any businesses like technology, retail, either purchasing some retail land space or technologies buying other competitors up, is really to block the competition. That may be in their forefront. I think one thing important is you never want to underestimate the competition. We've seen that throughout history. Once you do that, you open yourself up for possibly being outtaken over the years to come. And there's always that unknown factor, with what happens if KD moves over to Under Armour, what that may mean for them. But at the end of the day, you look at the numbers, Jordan is still king. He's almost been profitable since day one, since his first Jordan 1 lineup. Hard to beat because he didn't pay him that much and his sales were through the roof all the days when he first entered the league. So that's something to consider. So it's very interesting. So that kind of just wraps it up, guys, of what the KD does. Your sales numbers weren't that great, but I think they're expecting, hopefully, that One day he'll break over that 500 million mark, get into that 700 million mark range. But it's going to take a couple years to get there, and maybe they'll eventually break even with him. So that's where we're at. So kind of interesting. You know, I think we always think, you know, they're raising the prices, they're making money, but they may do it for other reasons. So that kind of just sums it up for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and you guys have a great day.